It's February 1st, 2012. As usual, we come about this time of year every year and somewhat bring forward our understanding of what lies ahead in the year ahead of us as far as rainfall and seasonal changes that are upon us. And I'm standing on Clear Lake, our water supply for the city of West Palm Beach, one of two twin lakes that act as our reservoirs downstream of Grassy Waters Preserve. This is, as always, a way of advancing our conversation on the elements of water, particularly water as it relates to water supply and also ecological and environmental water that we have within the city of West Palm Beach. I'm here to say that attending meetings for the last year, the city should feel very comfortable that the gut judgment of the city to rely on fresh water from a surface water supply may very well play out to the greatest advantage that the city has ever seen as far as an asset goes. There are limitations that are going to be put on groundwater extractors in the future, and we, because we're on surface water, we may not be affected by those alterations. The city of West Palm Beach, particularly under the influence of the Public Utility Department, has had to recoil several times over the last decade in response to droughts. And if anybody has been following the papers, at the beginning of October, the city of West Palm Beach was actually faced with the realities, as far as the press was concerned, that we were going to run out of water. By the end of October, if those who remember, we had almost 2 weeks of rainfall. And it went from a fearful outlook as far as what the year was to bring to one of abundance of water within our region, to the point where water restrictions were lifted on heavy users like agriculture and also groundwater extractors. City of West Palm Beach was prudent to remain on the 1 day of watering because it wasn't too long before, in January, all of a sudden the possibilities of drought were in front of us again. And we're entering the last stages of what is the normal dry season here in Florida. We have a number of months ahead of us. We have February, March, April, May, and we normally don't get rain until about June. If you remember, we didn't get any rain, appreciable rain, in June, July, or August, or September of last year, so we were headed towards some real dire straits. Fortunate for us, the climate did change. Today, we're sitting on Clear Lake. The levels are within tenths of where we were last year at this very day. The big game changer this year is Lake Okeechobee. Lake Okeechobee is actually sitting a foot higher than historical levels compared to last year. So that's a big game changer. The rains that we got at the end of October were actually well positioned to store water in Lake Okeechobee as opposed to landing on the coastal zones where it's normally lost because of stormwater concerns. It landed up in the upper Kissimmee River Basin, which is mostly agricultural, rural land, or raw land. And it's slowly seeping down into Lake Okeechobee, and it's not been affected very much at all since November. That's the good thing. The one thing that's coming before us now is we've got those months ahead of us, and if you remember, we haven't gotten any rain since the end of October. So it's still prudent, it's still right that we stay on our 1 day water restrictions here in the city of West Palm Beach. It works to our advantage. It's in our enlightened self-interest to do that. If you notice, growth is slowed appreciably in all your vegetation during the winter months. And you can water the grass all you want, but it's really not going to grow that much more, and it's really predicated on sunlight more than anything else. The water utility department has responded by basically retrofitting a lot of the limitations and past mistakes that were made, and they're always working towards that end. The big game changer that's going to occur this season is that we're lowering the water intake at the water plant, which has always been a self-limiting factor as far as droughts go. There's no such thing as drought proofing, because in reality, every municipality in South Florida depends on rainfall. If the rains don't come, we all face the inevitable truth that there's going to be scarcity. We, as a utility, we are incorporating within our DNA the response to water security for the future. And that's our main driving force, and it will continue. There's a lot of wasted water in this part of the state. On average, over an annual period of time, daily there's 1.7 billion gallons of water that is discharged to tide, good drinking water. We're going to make efforts to retrieve that, as well as hopefully shore up some of the seepage that we have occurring within our own system. And we're very much like the Everglades, and we actually have components of the Everglades in our system. So in a big way, we are very similar. The Everglades is affected by all the areas around it, and we are too. This lake has over 4.5 billion gallons of water stored in it right now, and it's much higher than everything relative to what's around it. So we lose through seepage an awful lot of water. And we're working with some of the regulatory agencies, and they see the response of water as a whole. And I think over time, over the next couple of years, you're going to see a whole new paradigm shift in the way that we respond to and manage water towards the end of the rainy seasons. We do it just instinctively. The other people in the other municipalities are driven by stormwater so much that they're slow to respond to it, but it's coming. That's the good thing. So we're going to take a trip out to Grassy Waters, our other major component of water supply within the city of West Palm Beach. Incorporated into the DNA of our strategies from the public utilities side, the overarching theme of the utilization and management of Grassy Waters Preserve, our catchment. Basically, this is where rainfall is captured every year during the rainy season, and we hold on to it, and slowly we let it go back into the city. It's purified, it's filtered, and it enters into our water supply eventually, taking us back to Clear Lake and Lake Mangonia, where we have our twin lake reservoirs. This area is integral to not only our present and future water supply, but it's very much a part of our heritage from the standpoint of the city of West Palm Beach. 1895, our water reliance goes back to dependence on this body of water. And our gut instincts always told us that surface water was the proper place to really place our dependence, and it still is reliable. Today, at the levels that we're at, which is around 18.9 feet above sea level, we basically are covered in about 21,000 acres of water. And now, To relate what that means to us, there's about 6.8 billion gallons of water sitting on the surface right now. Something that we're going to rely on for the next 4 to 5 months. And the other interesting fact is that this water, it's being acted on in different ways as it sits here. This is the mother lode of water for this whole region. And the sheer weight of this water, which is around 28.6 million tons of pressure, exerting itself downward and outward, actually services recharging groundwater to all the peripheral users around us. It recharges well fields, it recharges canals, it recharges adjacent wetlands, and everything basically profits and benefits from this location right here where we're standing in this water. There's a tremendous amount of emphasis that the utility is going to be placing on recovering a lot of the seepage that's going on because of that downward pressure. It seeps out. There's leakage in the system, and we're studying through pilot projects right now means to capture that because it's appreciable. Upstream of us, we lose sometimes up to 20 million gallons a day through seepage. And that's something that could be brought back into our system. And it's a low-hanging fruit, but it's something that we are diligently trying to recover. We're going to be doing some studies with Florida Atlantic University in studying the dynamics of that seepage within our system. I know you probably don't see it, but there's an alligator right next to me, submerged. And because of the temperature of the water, which is quite chilly right now, there's somewhat placid. So there's not a lot of concern that I'm going to be attacked, but he is sleeping on the bottom, which is kind of interesting to be next to something that close. He's bigger than I am. The overarching theme of water in the city of West Palm Beach is and will always remain attached to this place we call Grassy Waters Preserve. So when we start talking about restrictions or bringing you back into the realities of 1 day of watering a week, it's really to save this place more than anything else. The longer we can hold on to the water that we've got, the more vibrant, the more dynamic this system still remains during those dry winter months that we have ahead of us. And there's a diversity of species that depend on us managing this water wisely and prudently. So participate. This is where you can empower the outcomes without influencing, any detrimental side effects. So participate. That 1 day of watering is important. In an emphasis to carry on the conversation, enhance that conversation about water, we're going to do a few more in-depth studies and discussions on water as it relates to this system, Grassy Waters Preserve, our catchment. And it's just a continuation of the Water Journal. So we'll be back. Stay tuned and have a good day.